We know now that the budget will be at least 7 weeks late, and if yesterday's leaders' meeting was any indication, it will be much later than that. In case you missed it, Governor Patterson and the leaders spent more than an hour arguing over the state's financial crisis. More often than not, they were engaging in some political theater. But despite the showmanship, there were some clear signs of frustration that many of the lawmakers are feeling.
I know. All I'm looking for, and our conference is looking for, is some public discussion about these ideas. We've made specific recommendations. You may not agree with them. That's okay. I'd just like to know why. And I'd like to, when Senator Sampson talks about evaluating every program, great. How come we're not doing it right now?
That was Brian Kolb, the leader of the Assembly Republican Conference, and he is with me now in the studio this evening. How are you, leader?
Great. That was my more excitable twin that you just saw.
Well, I'm hoping that you display equal passion right here. Feel free to just sort of let it all hang out right here.
Absolutely. That's the only way I know.
So what was that all about? I mean, clearly you're upset and frustrated, and you share Dean Skelos, the Senate Minority Leader's feeling that Republicans are getting left out of this process.
Well, you know, and the public's being left out of the process. I think the whole point of having public joint conference committee meetings and public discussions is so the public is better informed as far as what the real obstacles are, where are the different conferences in agreement, where they're apart, and to have everything in total, shall we say, in the dark for the public and for the people that we represent. Our conference represents over 4 million people, and we have just as much to say about this budget as anybody based on the people that we represent in New York State. And so it shouldn't be about numbers, shouldn't be about who's in charge or who's got more votes. It's about having as many brains at the table to try to come up with some solutions to a very serious fiscal crisis that we're in.
The Republicans were sort of traditionally in Albany the minority, be it Democrats in the Senate for quite some time, although no longer, and the Republicans in the Assembly have been relegated to the role of the loyal opposition, sort of standing on the mountaintop and screaming into the void. Doesn't that get tiring after a while?
Well, it's our job. I mean, certainly you'd like to be in power and in control and be able to really move some things in a different direction, but since we can't, then our job is to scream at the top of our lungs for better public policy. And it's not about saying no, it's not about just being difficult to get along with, but seriously it's about offering better public policy positions or trying to make the positions that the majorities are taking better, or to stop some that we don't think are good ideas for all of New York, and I think that's really our job.
Then what's the purpose, actually, if in fact there were to be conference committees, and we just got word today that the Senate Democratic Conference leader John Sampson has finally, now we're 7 weeks into the process, named some members onto conference committees. So what's the process, though, or rather what's the point, though, if all you're going to do is what happened yesterday, which is posturing, shooting across the bow, drawing lines in the sand, and not really getting anywhere?
Well, I think that's really why the public is so mad. They're angry. They're frustrated. They want to throw all the incumbents out, no matter what party you represent, is because they are seeing this and knowing full well that we have a fiscal crisis, that we got the same old politics going on. It's unacceptable to me. That's why I got a little bit of my Irish up yesterday, and I'll continue to do that because, quite frankly, it's clear in the state legislature, if you're in the majority, doesn't matter what party, both houses, you have the responsibility to follow the Budget Reform Act. Neither majority are, which is joint conference committees, which is public discussions, and that's when you get bad budgets, bad ideas, when everything's done in secret or done behind closed doors, and then they come out and announce an agreement. That's not good public policy. And really, this is where they've gone wrong, and for Leader Sampson to come out today with joint conference appointees, ours has been out for 10 weeks, and I don't think the Assembly majorities even put theirs out yet.
Well, Assembly Speaker Silver didn't seem all that thrilled about it, about the idea of conference committees yesterday, and I actually haven't really heard him say that he's going to do that because there's no fiscal plan. He says there's no point if there's no fiscal plan. Why should we even bother meeting if there's no targets that we agree upon to move towards?
Well, then you have public meetings, and I've said this, have a public forum on budget discussions and say, all right, where do we differ? So if the Assembly majority has a fiscal plan that they want to follow, which includes $2 billion in borrowing, then what's the Senate majority's plan, and what are they going to do instead of $2 billion in borrowing? How are they going to do their budget and pay for it? The governor has a financial plan for his budget, so it's a matter of being public about it. What are your positions? Where are the differences? Now, how are you going to how are you going to close the gap between the two majorities? Because they're the ones that have to deliver a package and agreement with the governor because they're in power.
But nothing got done yesterday, or correct me if I'm wrong. Did something get done? Because I watched, and I've since watched the clips, and I didn't feel like anything got done. Did you feel like anything got done there?
Well, not as much as you would like to get done, but one thing at least got accomplished, if anything, is the governor asked the two leaders to have joint conference committees.
Right.
Which is what I was saying, what Dean Skelos was saying. Another thing is that we had some very good discussions, I thought, about just one aspect, which was the collection of taxes on non-Native American sales on cigarettes and gasoline.
Right.
Had further conversations after that meeting yesterday where I got a better picture of where the governor's trying to go, which I think is good, but we need to get it moving. And that's what I'm saying. I think the more you have those public discussions, it puts pressure on people to get things done.
Did you, you said you had follow-up discussions, did you have them with the governor's people or with the governor himself?
With the governor's staff.
Okay, because you've complained in the past that you've put in calls to the governor and not gotten your calls returned. And then actually yesterday, the governor said, well, I went and hung out with the Assembly Democrats, and subsequently said, well, you know, it was no harm meant to anybody. You just didn't invite me. Have you invited the governor to come and speak to your members?
Yeah, he spoke several weeks ago to our conference. You know, quite frankly, if there's a reason to bring the governor to conference, I have no problem picking up the phone and inviting him. We've had the lieutenant governor into the conference explain some of his ideas on the financial reforms that he was proposing. So if there's a reason and purpose, we have no problem inviting the governor. Clearly, the budget negotiations that we're in right now, factually, fundamentally, is a disagreement between the Assembly Democrats, the Senate Democrats, and the governor. They can't agree on what this financial plan should be, how much you're going to borrow, how much you're going to tax, how much you're going to spend. That's where the problem is. And what we want public meetings is to flush that out. And what are the differences? And is there any way to get a compromise between them all so we can get a budget in place? That's the facts of what I think is really going on. And they don't want to meet in public because they don't want to play their cards in front of TV cameras or reporters, because then they're going to be held more accountable for what they say and do in public versus what they say privately.
Does all of this stalemate and stalling and dysfunction perhaps help you and your cause in going into the elections, and the Senate Republicans as well? Because as the loyal opposition, you get to say, well, you know, here are our very unpopular proposals that actually most people would probably agree on. You don't have to play to the unions. You don't have to play to really pretty much anyone except your constituents, and you can make unpopular proposals like capping things and spending cuts, etc. Do you think that helps you politically?
Well, I don't think it helps any of us politically, because I think all of us elected officials take a right cross the cheek from the public, because it undermines the confidence that the public has in elected officials. And we're all damaged by that, regardless of political party. And even I said yesterday, I said, I don't care about the elections. When we're in session, when we're in serving government, we should be solving the problems that are before us. We can save the campaigns for November, or when we have special elections, then we'll duke it out and let the best person win. That's what campaigns are for. That's what the public wants. And I think what's happened over the years, and it's happened in Washington, it's happened in New York State government, is elected officials, the politicians, have forgotten what they're really supposed to be going there to do in Albany or Washington, which is serve the public good, not for political posturing, not for political gain.
But all this has actually done well for you. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how this is going to be a Republican year. You've actually, your conference has won 3 out of the last 4 Assembly special elections on a shoestring, let's be honest. Your fundraising is nothing in comparison, and your spending is minuscule in comparison to what the Democrats have done.
Yeah, actually, I think that we do a great job with the resources we have, and sure, we'd love more resources. But one of the things that we have found is that this year, our message has always been the same for the Assembly Republican Conference. Fiscal restraint, less government, certainly less taxes, but the public, the actual voters, sort of weren't really worried about that too much 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Well, now they see what bad public policy happens to their pocketbooks, and it's about the economy, it's about taxes, it's about jobs. These are our core issues that we're good at, but no one really wanted to listen so much when times were good and the money just kept flowing out of Albany, that no one really said, well, we don't have a problem. But now the problems of, it's not just this year, last year, it's decades of mismanagement, I believe, that is now coming to fruition.